All right, so let's figure out where we left off. Remember the beginning of the video, I said that, oh, maybe this is a second BonCon. I don't know. Sometimes I think it's cool to just be able to glimpse a little bit out of context what's going on this channel. The fourth, fifth, we're on page 279 of How Minds Change by David McRaney. And at the beginning of the previous BonCon, I guess, I said that humans are really good at rationalizing. What I meant by that was not that we're really good at actually coming up with rational explanations for our actions and beliefs after the fact, but that we're able to come up with explanations that sound good to other human minds. Not that we're thinking about the other human minds, it's just that we come up with a justification that makes sense to us and we share it. And we're all pretty similar, so. The fourth, fifth, and sixth people to arrive at the door will base their behavior on the crowd's behavior ahead of them, and as the crowd grows, it becomes more and more unlikely that a newcomer will be the sort of person who doesn't care what so many people might think of them if they embarrass themselves publicly. It is safer to assume that everyone waiting to get inside the classroom has good reasons to do so, even though they don't. The network, not the environment, is now determining the behavior of the minds within it. Person 15 might have a very high conformity threshold, but the cascade is too powerful to resist. In the past, even if 10 people were waiting, she, person 15, would have checked to see if the class was truly empty. If she discovered it was, she would have shattered the cascade. Behind her, everyone else would have adopted her behavior, not the group's. But since her upper conformity threshold is 10, 14 others is just too large of a consensus for her to question. Her threshold for rebellion has been met. When she joins, the crowd grows to 15 people, and the bar is raised even higher for the next person who comes along. To break the cascade, someone who is more brave and willing to look silly by checking the door than anyone else in the crowd so far must arrive. And at a certain size of group for that sample of people, there might not be any such person. I've been both people. I've been waiting outside an empty classroom that was empty, and then I've walked past a bunch of people and um, the times when I walked past, because I just want to say there's another element involved that came to mind while I was reading this. It's not just your threshold, but also how you compare yourself to the other people. If you're a third year and I don't know, for some reason you're taking this class with a bunch of first years, then you're gonna feel a certain authority, a certain knowledge, um, and you maybe even if among peers your threshold had been, if I see three people waiting, I'm not going to question it. But those aren't peers; it's a bunch of dumb freshmen. Um, and so then you go check. So that's another sort of mechanism, another threshold of authority and how much they qualify as peers that's going to count in whether or not you have the gumption to break the cascade. But here's what's interesting, and here's why I mentioned rationalization. None of these people, you tell any of these people, this is what happened in your mind, especially if you talk to the first people. So you tell the first person, that the reason you're not checking is because of an internal signal, your disposition, because of a past experience. Okay, he may accept that, and then immediately he'll say how reasonable that is.
Well, yeah, of course, I'm not going to, once you already opened the door and a bunch of people were in there, and you interrupted the class.
He's not going to really keep the focus on how embarrassing it was for him. He's going to talk about how reasonable was he.
Yeah, I interrupted the class. So, of course, rationally, I'm going to be careful in the future. I'm not going to just go swinging doors open.
Hey, son, nobody talks about swinging doors open. We're wondering why you didn't just. And well, we don't have to wonder. We've given you the explanation. But he's gonna rationalize. He's gonna make it sound like it makes sense because no human wants to be described as this, as just an internal signal determine that they do this quote unquote stupid thing. And humans are so hard on themselves. Any action that doesn't match reality is the stupid thing, even though it's fucking crazy because obviously the brain did not evolve to perfectly match reality. That's not possible, but it did evolve to imitate some features of a past reality, few of which are present today. Am I recording? Great. Then you tell the second person, and then maybe you tell, like, you say to everybody, all right, y'all all have different thresholds. That person who came after you, if they had come in your spot, they would have checked the door because, we're not like reasoning, like, what does the situation demand here? We just have automatic mechanisms, and some people's threshold is different from others as far as threshold of conformity, what they're talking about here. But that's just really important. That what's really frustrating about this journey that we're on, my fellow early risers. Fuck. Wow, I refer to us as early risers. That's okay, humbling. Anyway, I'm still going to address you that way. My fellow early risers. What were we saying? Is that I'm really in the dark there, aren't I? And that doesn't look like it's going to be stable. All right, whatever. So, my fellow early risers, what did I want us to realize or appreciate together? Oh, yeah, our capacity for rationalizing our actions and mechanisms. So, that's why it's so hard in this journey to get people to believe that they are brains, because the way that the brain can confabulate, it's absolutely incredible, can weave together any kind of story to make anything make sense or right. Anything to a, so just that's why I'm out here. I'm looking for people who are not going to resist if we come across a psych study that shows how in this situation humans are extremely predictably irrational. We're not going to go, oh well, me, I would do differently, or oh but actually it's rational what they're doing. And any time that we do the correct thing, it's not because we reasoned through it. It's just what we talked about in the first video. It's more of just that we evolved or learned the mechanisms that happen to produce the same output as one would reasonably put out if a reasonable system were possible. So it's called the MESA, by the way. That's what I call it. When you misattribute a thought, action, behavior, whatever, to a another voice, another mechanism, but actually it was a different mechanism than the one you attributed to. And typically we always attribute it to the reasonable mechanism. We go, oh, I did this because I was being reasonable. But that's not the sum that was done to happen to imitate that so and so reasonable choice, so called